Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm Salma Kazi Wahab and welcome to another edition of Along the Path, where we take you along the journey of different personalities and their experiences and circumstances and how their own journey is to get where they need to be. Like we mention every week, that we all are heading in the same direction. We all have the same goal, the same vision, but our paths are not necessarily the same. We all have different circumstances and have different challenges that we may face in our journey, but it's how we get there at the end of the day that matters. Joining me in studio today, we had to rope her in before she jets back to the blessed lands of Saudi Arabia. It's Durban's own Saadiqa Manjoo, or otherwise known as Blog the Vlog. Saadiqa, assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for gracing us with your presence. When we saw that you were here in Dublin, we said we had to have this moment captured and obviously have this conversation with you, because for so many different reasons. You're somebody that if people were to think of you, they think, okay, makeup, and they think all your passions and all the things that you know, shopping hauls. But it's not the sort of luxury shopping that people would expect, or any sense of materialism. You've got a very simple nature that people love, a sense of practicality that people appreciate, especially in this day and age, and also your own relationship with you, your mother, and everything else. But we'll get to all of that in a bit. But you are a teacher at the end of the day. And tell us about that as a career choice. How often is that overlooked, the importance and role of what you do?
So, you know, I've always wanted to be a teacher. Like, there was nothing else that I wanted to do from the time I was small. I just knew, because I come from a family of teachers, uncles, aunts, cousins. So there was something, growing up, a lot of people tried to put me off, outsiders, that you're going to get put into schools that you're not going to like, you're going to go into the rural areas. And I was like, no, I like it. And I think for a female, it is a lovely profession, because especially if you want to create a home, family, you have time with your kids as well, holidays. So this is a profession that I knew I wanted, and alhamdulillah, I got it. And for the last 13 years, I think I've grown in my profession as well. And yeah, I think it's the best profession that a lady can go into, definitely.
It is very underrated as well. But you do find a lot of people questioning that career choice, because also they say maybe it's not cut out for you, something that you're not necessarily cut out to be a teacher, the things you may encounter. You're seeing what children are going through these days, whether it's bullying or whatever it is. People have a question about private schools versus public schools, and like you mentioned, government schools. There's so much of questioning about what's happening in the world in the teaching and educational industry. But when it comes to being a teacher, you find very few that children actually look for them maybe when they're outside somewhere. They want to hug them. They keep in touch with them years after they finish school. What do you think would make in character a good teacher, you feel?
I think I would say that you are strict, but you also love them. They know that, okay, when it's work time, my work needs to be done, but as well, I am very sweet, I'm very loving. And you know, you mentioned that kids look for their teachers. When I went to my previous school to greet everybody, students came up to me and they're like, Saadiqa ma'am, we miss you. Why did you leave us? You know, and then I know, okay, I did something right in my years there. So alhamdulillah, yes. It's a very rewarding job, but you also have to grow a thick skin. I think there can be a lot of negativity as well. And in all honesty, teaching isn't for everybody. I've seen people study the 4 years, go 1 year into teaching, and then they give it up. So it's something that it's a passion, it's a calling. And you have to have a thick skin, because things are not always going to go your way. And you have to accept, and you have to develop, and you have to evolve with your teaching as well. So,
Absolutely. And then to choose to make that move and now teach in a place like Riyadh and Saudi Arabia, how different is the teaching culture there to South African?
It's, you know what, I think in South Africa, if I must compare curriculums, we are more grounded where we teach foundation. We teach the skills. I think there it's a lot more theory, and because I'm now teaching American curriculum. So it's very different, but the kiddies are still the same. Oh my word, I love them. They are amazing. I have grade 1 boys and they are 24 boys. So I'm teaching only boys. And they are so cute, alhamdulillah.
That's so amazing that you're able to find that sort of fulfillment in what you do as well. And I think that's important in any career choice. Was it something that you did, like you said, it's something that you come from a family of teachers, very well-known and respected educators as well. But what sort of life lessons do you think educators take home with them in their everyday lives? Are they able to cut off and almost switch into a different mode? Or does being a teacher actually filter into your normal day-to-day life?
You know, it does, because sometimes you'll be busy with something else and like, that lesson didn't go too well. Maybe I should have done it like that. Sometimes when I'm baking and I'm like, I should take cookies and go, maybe do the math lesson on this. So it does filter in. You're always thinking, even if you're going to sleep at night, how can I improve my lesson? Okay, this child struggled today. What can I do different? Because not everybody's going to learn the same. Not every child is going to learn the same. And you have to constantly come up with new ways, new ideas to enhance teaching and make the child love what you are teaching. So it can filter in, and you have to also navigate your way. And home is home, teaching is teaching, but sometimes they do collide. And you know,
do you think in any way, now if you were to look at it the reverse way as well, and like you mentioned, what certain children may be going through as well, you don't know, what about what you may be going through? Did you ever find a time where that was directly impacting on how you're teaching now when you're walking into school, and maybe your state of mind, your mood? The children ever pick up on that? And sometimes they say teachers are counselors for these kids also. Do they ever wonder what's happening with you today? Or did you ever have a moment of vulnerability with them?
So, you know, I did. It was a few years back when I got divorced. I did have moments of when I walked into the class and I just wasn't feeling myself. And kids do pick up on that. But as much as I try, as soon as I enter the school, I try to leave problems outside. And I had a good support system as well that also helped me, gave me time if I needed to take a break, gave me the time. So alhamdulillah, it's very important that you have a good support system, even in your working environment, because these people that work with you, your colleagues, they are the ones that, you know, they see you when you're happy, they see you when you're progressing, they see you when you're sad. And it's just pure happiness. I'm there for you. There's no jealousy. There's no, I want to be better than you. So it's important to have that as well.
To be able to support each other and grow together. Yeah. Now you mentioned the D word, so I have to ask you, the divorce, of course. And we say it now with a laugh and a smile, but there was a point when all of this, and you're somebody that shares a lot of your life on social media also. And there was a point when you shared this and everyone almost gasped like, oh, she's getting married. And then it wasn't too long after that it was over.
Yes.
So it like a Coke bottle, it almost just fizzles out as fast as it started. But tell us about that. What lessons did you learn from that very short-lived phase of your life?
That I'm a bubbly person and I cannot walk on eggshells and I cannot dim my light to make somebody else shine. And I think during my marriage, I was becoming quite reserved. And I didn't realize that until I had my divorce. And a few months after that, I went, I'm at school and my colleagues are telling me, your bubbly personality is coming out. I haven't seen you shine like this in the last 6 months that you were married. And I didn't realize the effect that it was having on me. I became withdrawn, I became quiet. So yeah, now I know that I'm not going to go for somebody who's going to dim my light, because I am bubbly, I crack jokes, I think I'm a nutcracker. So yeah, I need somebody who can match me in that level.
So if somebody were to, yes, we're noting all those details for any prospective suitors, but if somebody were to necessarily say, okay, they're looking for certain red flags as well. Maybe they've just started off in a married life, or maybe they're looking for a partner. What are some of the things that you now look back when you reflect and you say, I should have been more careful about this, or I should have noted this beforehand, that you're now able to perhaps maybe only notice afterwards? But what were those things that perhaps dimmed your light eventually?
It was, so one of the things I can remember is that, I like your hair curly, but I think it looks much better if it's straight. Okay. So at that time you want to okay, he likes it like that, let me straighten it. But it was an indirect way of saying, I hate your hair while it's curly, keep it straight, So these are things, it's small things also, like what you wear. It came out in a subtle way, but now when I look back on it, it was basically, I don't like all of this of you, I need you to be this way. And I feel if you want to change, it must come from you, because you're out of love for the person, not because you are forced or have to do it. So yeah, these were my little red flags that I see now that were red flags back then.
Where you saw Saadiqa slowly start to disappear.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
I think that's very important. We want to touch more on that. We want to also touch on what finally gave you that push to actually take that job in Saudi, and also your relationship with your mum and the support you have to offer her as well. How often do we actually consider the role of daughters? What if there's no son? Are the daughters able to step up the role and actually support their mums at the end of the day? And what pressure do young women have at the end of the day when they have their mums to support, but they also want a life for themselves? We talk about that on the other side of this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back to Along the Path, where we have conversations with our very own about their journeys along their paths. We're joined today by Saadiqa Manjoo, otherwise known as Blog the Vlog. Let's talk a little bit about Blog the Vlog version of Saadiqa. We mentioned just before the break that now you take Blog the Vlog and you get her married to somebody, like you necessarily said. You did mention that it dimmed you a little and you found that spark to disappear. But if you talk about it in a more general sense as well, a lot of women are finding that or encountering that in their marital lives, where they are having to somewhat tone down or maybe conform a little bit with the norms. What were some of the things you considered before getting married, your career-wise, with regards to your mum, your family setup, finances, before getting married, and what did you learn from that?
So I've always said I want to continue working. So that even when I had like proposals come home, that was the main thing, is that I have my mom and I will have to continue working because she's my responsibility.
Right.
And my then husband was okay with that, and we discussed financial. But after we got married, it just changed. And I was still the breadwinner of my house, and I was still taking care of my mom and doing all of that. So, thinking about it now, it's very important to have discussions of financial stability. What is yours? Obviously, in Islam, the husband has to provide for you, but also in case, something happens, it's also important that I think in this day and age, women have education and they have something to fall back on, because you cannot rely solely on the man. And I think maybe because my mom has been a single mom, and I grew up without a dad, and my mom doing everything for me. I think maybe I also have that mentality in me, but I just feel that I need a man or a husband to compliment me, but not to always be there financially, if that makes, I want it. I'm not saying I don't.
You need the companion.
Yes, but I'm also capable of taking care of myself on my own. Yeah.
And you're doing very well. More recently, we saw on socials, you did your home kitchen up for your mom as well. Tell us about some of the things, the role you play in your relationship with your mom and how you support her. Maybe it could inspire many others as well.
So behind the scenes, mom and I fight a lot. We cats and dogs.
People.
Yeah, we fight a lot. But I think over the years, we've grown quite close. And actually moving to Saudi allowed her to become a little bit more independent without me, because I'm there, anything goes wrong, come check this, see why the light went off, fix this, fix that, And now she had to learn to be independent, to go places without me. I told her, take the taxi. You're not going to wait for anybody. Go. You can do it. Now she goes to Pavilion on her own. She goes to Musgrave on her own. So it helped her as well to become independent. And I think I've always been mom support, and inshallah I'll continue to do that for many, many years to come. But I feel now I can give back to her. My mom did so much for me. If I tell you, Salma, I am spoiled. Like in the mornings when I wake up, my breakfast was given to me. I just walked to the table. And now that I can do things for her, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah always, alhamdulillah. Yeah.
But that's the most beautiful joy, and I truly do believe it's the parents' du'as at the end of the day. In your case, you see it, that you're able to support her from medical aid or whatever it be, that you're able to do that, and you should be very proud of that, that you not many children are able to do that for their parents, but the fact that you are, and I do think in that way there is hikmah. That is your path, and this is your destiny, and the journey that you, and the role that you're meant to play. What ultimately convinced you then? Because I can only imagine, knowing that you are the support system for your mum, you would have hesitated to move, and it was something you considered for the longest time. Tell us about that. How long did you consider the move, and what eventually just led you to leave?
So prior to getting this job, I did have job offers. The last one is I went through to the final interview, and then I backed down because I didn't want to leave mum. And it so happened that when I took this job, I came out of it that on the 9th of August. I got this job in September. So I just felt that it was time that, you know, in fact, when I got the offer, I sat my mom down and I was like, Mom, you know, so far I've lived for you. And now I think I want to live for myself a little, just a little. And I'm not going away. I'm only 8 hours away. I calmed her down like that. And Mom, that whole time, she was like, she's not going to take the job. She says yes, but she's not going to do it. She's until I got my contract and I signed it. And then it hit her that I'm doing this and I'm going. And it was very difficult for her. She became very withdrawn. She became quite sad. But she can see as well what I'm able to accomplish now, what I'm able to do, how happy I am. And I think that's very important, is that, alhamdulillah, I'm quite happy. So I partly do say I thank my ex-husband, because if he didn't come, it was, you know, I couldn't see back then, but all of that led me to where I am today, alhamdulillah.
And again, that's why the series is called Along the Path. That was your path. You were meant to meet him. This was all meant to happen, and that was your catapult. That was the trigger that led you to finally make that decision to move. And I think also, like you mentioned, for your mom and yourself have always been interdependent on each other. You not getting served your breakfast and now having to cook. You cooked chicken curry for the first time.
For the first time. I made pies. I did everything. You know, when I invite my friends over in Saudi, my one friend, she was like, I thought you were a chef. I thought you were a cook, because your food comes out so nice. I didn't know that you never cooked before, you know. I learned how to do everything myself. And I think that was a worry that my mom had. She was like, if you get married, you're not going to be able to do this. You're not going to be able to do that. How are you going to stay alone? You know, you can't survive on your own. And I think I proved her wrong as well. So she's also, alhamdulillah, she's quite happy.
Amazing survivor. Well done for that. But let's focus a little on life in Saudi Arabia. Most people are now saying that it's full of luxury. There's so many temptations. There's so many distractions. We've heard recently that the nightlife in Saudi Arabia comes alive only after a certain time, and it leads everyone to go out. You end up shopping. It's also the cost of living is a lot higher. But in your case, you started with this obvious physical change as well, where you started adorning abayas full time. You started with a niqab. Did you how did that happen? What sort of things started happening that changed it? Was it the influence around you, or just something within?
So, alhamdulillah, from South Africa, I've always been in hijab, and I've always worn abayas. It wasn't something just completely new that I went there. I think with the niqab, I've always wanted to go into it, but Mom would always say, no, you're too young. And she always kind of put me off it. And then one day I was out with my friends. They also wear a niqab, and I was just like, I wanted to do it. And then they were like, go ahead, do it. And we were having coffee, and I left my coffee. I ran up to the abaya shop and I bought a niqab and I just put it on. And if you go back onto my Instagram, there was one video where I said, I'm not going to say I am in niqab. I'm trying it out because I don't know. But alhamdulillah, I think it's 4 months now. So now I say, yes, I'm in niqab. But it was a spur of the moment. It was a decision that I just took on that spot. And I said my biggest test would be when I come to South Africa. Because it's easy in Saudi. Everybody's in niqab. But coming to South Africa, I'm going to be with my friends. They're not going to be in niqab. Friends. My old friends. They're not going to be in niqab. They're not going to be in hijab. But alhamdulillah, I didn't feel like, I need to take it out. I'm not wearing normal clothes. So alhamdulillah, now I say I am in niqab.
Absolutely. That's amazing, mashallah. May Allah keep it that way and give you the strength to continue. What do you think you gained spiritually from being in Saudi Arabia, if we were to say South African sense of spirituality and being there? Is there a sense of awareness? I mean, you are so close to Medina Munawwara and Makkah al-Mukarramah. You are inevitably physically much closer. But spiritually, is it any closer to you would be here?
I think it's more or less the same, but I think I'm more aware of salam in terms of, because azan goes all around, and everybody usually when azan goes, they'll just stop and they'll pray, and it even when we go out, side of the road, ladies, we went to a circus show. When we came out, just outside the circus, they just put their mat down and they pray salah.
And that's something you don't
That's something we don't do that here, So that also, because then it created an awareness for me, if they can do it, I can do it as well. So I've grown in that way. And I think also, I must say, there were du'as that I made when I went to Medina. So I went to Medina after 24 years, which was amazing. And I went to Riyadh, and there was a certain du'a that I made there. And Salma, if I tell you, alhamdulillah, my du'a got answered. I am living that du'a. I'm living it right now. And alhamdulillah. So, I always say, sometimes in our busy life, I forget Allah. It is the truth. Sometimes I forget it. But Allah doesn't ever forget me. And no matter what, no matter how much of like a sinner we are, or, you know, we try to do the good, but His mercy it's just so much that you see du'as just getting answered and things just opening out and things just working out. And alhamdulillah for that. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Again, that umrah after 24 years was only possible again because you were right there. And now you could do it. How did you make that decision to go and to do it by yourself?
No, so I didn't do Umrah.
Right.
We just because we're so close to Medina, sometimes we just go for a weekend. We just be like, we're going for a weekend to Medina.
Wow.
Alhamdulillah, we have that opportunity. So my friend was like, you know what, she's going to Medina, let's go. So I was like, okay, I'm doing this, I want to go to Medina because after 24 years. So it was just like spur of the moment, and we went as a group, and it was so nice because we did everything together. We read together, we did our zikr together, and I think it also bonded us as friends as well. It created a very strong bond between us. So alhamdulillah, yeah.
How amazing to just go to spend a day at the beach. No, I'd rather go spend the weekend in Medina.
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Just to inspire our choice of friends, how important is that? Tell us about the circle that you formed there in Medina and how they positively influence you.
So I think even from here, all my friends are much older than me. I feel like I'm an old lady as well because I have a lot of like elder friends. But you know what? I keep friends that are grounded, that are Islamically inclined, that are not afraid to tell me, you know what you're doing is wrong. What you said here is wrong. Maybe look at it this way, you know, and it's very important to have that. Somebody that also reminds you of Allah, doesn't take you away from Allah, because it's so, you know, with things that happen in our life, it's so easy to just say, I'm tired of this. I don't want to do it anymore. You know, Allah is mean to me. Allah did this to me, you know, and lose yourself. And I've seen it. I've seen girls do that. Like they get divorced and then they just
lose hope.
They lose, you know. So alhamdulillah, I have a good set of friends, and they're all very homely. They're all very homely. It's mums with their kids, and I tell them I'm always like a third wheel, because I go with husband, wife, and the 3 kids. So I'm like the nanny there. But alhamdulillah, I have very good friends, and I formed good bonds that even though some left, we are still friends, and we still continue our relationship.
Subhanallah. Saadiqa, it was so wonderful having this conversation with you, and we wish you all the best for your future endeavors until you visit South Africa again. We look forward to all the stories that you will share with us, and I'm sure all the growth for you and your mum, good health for her, inshallah. But Jazakallah khair so much for spending this time with us, and all the best for the rest of the year, inshallah. That is Saadiqa Manjoo there joining us while she's here from Riyadh. And like that, no matter where it may be, wherever your life takes you, understand that Allah's plan is greater, and His plan is certainly there. So whether you end up in Thailand, Phuket, you can end up in Malaysia or Harare, wherever it may be, Allah knows what He's doing, and that is your path to follow. And ultimately your goal should be Him and bettering yourself, self-enhancement, self-fulfillment and self-enrichment in every single way. We wish that for you in your journey along the path. Until next week, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.